Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It's 11:31 on a Thursday morning. Donnie and Dolly on Check TV. Ryan, what are you doing? Where's the music?
Well, it's a bit of a left turn. We should have prepared you for this.
You can't expect me to do this.
You've confused him
I know.
so badly.
The moment I pointed at him, I knew I was in trouble.
Where's the music? Where's my DTMZ music?
Well, it's a left turn here. It's different than a normal day because of the trade.
But Ryan's got to let me know.
We haven't got any entertainment news, but I'm telling you, Pat Steinberg is entertaining.
Hey, he's entertaining, Pat.
There's your entertainment right there.
Go.
But let me just say this, that normally DTMZ at this time of day, at this time of the show, is brought to you by the Arnold Palmer Design Whistler Golf Club. Book your corporate or buddy group of 12 or more now, and you, the group organizer, play for free. Tell us about your group at whistlergolf.com/groups. If we have time, we'll do birthdays, okay? We'll get someone to play us out as well. Joining us now from Sportsnet 960 in Calgary in the wake of the Lindholm deal is Pat Steinberg, who had Craig Conroy on his show yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Pat, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good, boys. How we doing?
Very, very well. What are the Canucks getting in Elias Lindholm?
Well, I think first of all, they're getting a really responsible two-way center. So that's the number one thing that we're talking about here, is that you're getting a really, really good defensive center. And you know, we can talk all we want about the offense and what we've seen from him in the past there. But the number one thing that you're getting in Lindholm is a guy that is going to take care of his own zone first. He's decent in the face-off dot. He is smart in his own zone, and he plays against top players on a regular basis. So especially whether you're putting him behind Pettersson, whether you're putting him behind Miller, however the Canucks decide to go about their business down the middle, I think you're absolutely getting a guy that you're going to be happy with on the defensive side of the game. And then comes the interesting part, and that's the other part of his two-way game, and that's the offense. Because we're also talking about a guy who's scored 40 in this league before, a guy that is a perennial 20-goal guy in this league, but it's who he plays with. And all of a sudden, you're starting to think about the high-end players that the Canucks can throw out there in their top six, and you start to think, wow, that really starts to suit his skill set. The best that we've ever seen Elias Lindholm is on a line with Johnny Gaudreau, whether Matthew Tkachuk was on that line or Sean Monahan was on that line. It's always been with Johnny Gaudreau, who's a guy who creates space and who draws players to him and is able to open up space for other players around him because of that. Well, whether you're talking about Elias Pettersson or you're talking about JT Miller, whoever you want to talk about when it comes to potentially who Lindholm could play with here. And I know that Jim Rutherford has said a few times that, you know, wouldn't be a surprise if it's Lindholm and Pettersson playing on the same line together. I think that really suits his skill set to bring out the offensive side of his game, where he's really good at finding soft spots and finishing from those soft spots.
Yeah, and we just had Jim Rutherford on the show, by the way, Pat. You can use this on your show, and he said just what you said, that coaches work in pairs often when it comes to forward lines. So Pettersson with Lindholm is what he's thinking, and I'm sure what Rick Tocchet is thinking. So this trade, we got your reaction. You do a talk show. What's the reaction amongst Flames fans?
Well, it's been pretty positive, and you know, this is one that jumps off the page kind of from more of an objective standpoint. It feels like a deal that really works for both sides, and then you get it from the Flames side of things. I think Flames fans were expecting a first-round pick, a prospect, and maybe an NHL player in terms of the return for Lindholm. Well, in this case, they got the five pieces. They got the first-round pick. They got the conditional pick that turns into a third-round pick. So it's a fourth-round pick that turns into a third-round pick if the Canucks make the Western Conference Final. And they got the two defensive prospects along with Kuzmenko. And I think the Flames are excited about Kuzmenko and are excited to see if he can kind of get back closer to form where he was last year with some new scenery. But honestly, the big parts of this are the D prospects and specifically the high-end OHL defense prospect that they're really excited about and the first-round picks. So those are the things that I think excite Flames fans. And so when Flames fans hear Craig Conroy say that, oh, you know what, maybe we got a little bit more than what our initial thought was. And on the outside, there was kind of this ballpark in terms of what the Flames might be able to get for Lindholm. To see them get 5 pieces in return and still get a couple of, it's not like it's not the Dion Phaneuf trade where it's just a bunch of spare parts. You're talking about some high leverage assets the Flames were able to get back, even though it's more quantity. The quality, I think, for Flames fans is still there, and that is the first round pick. That is Brustewitz, the defenseman. And so I think the reaction has been more lukewarm on other trades Conroy's made. When they traded Toffoli to New Jersey in June, the reaction was kind of split 50-50. I quite liked that trade myself, but a lot of people were like, that was their leading scorer last year. They only got that for Toffoli. And then when they traded Zadorov to the Canucks in late November, it was kind of like, oh, I thought maybe they'd get more. And this one has been a whole lot more, I don't want to say unanimous, but a whole lot more swayed to the positive side of things. So I think Flames fans are pretty excited about the return they're getting. And yet at the same time, I think there's a realization that this works for both sides. The Canucks are getting by far the best piece in this deal. And even if it's only for a few months, they're getting a guy who's going to make them a whole lot better and make them a whole lot deeper. So I would say, though, it's been a pretty positive response for Flames fans.
Hey, Pat, the Canucks tried to get Tanev as well. There's a ton of interest in Tanev around the NHL. What's up next with Chris? Do you see him getting moved here quickly or closer to the deadline?
Wouldn't be a shock if it's the former Rick. Like I wouldn't be stunned at all if before the All-Star break is done, we see Tanev on the move here. And I don't know if it's going to be Vancouver because as I know you were reporting last night that maybe he initially was in the deal and it works better potentially now in a separate deal. And there's going to be other teams that are interested in Tanev as well. We know the Maple Leafs have been courting him for the longest time, and there's going to be all kinds of other interest for him. But, I think the Lindholm part is important, and I think that it's an important. There's an important kind of side plot to it when it comes to what they decided to do with what they decided to do. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. I'm tethering off my phone. I'm on vacation.
That's okay.
I apologize for that. So I think there's an interesting part to the Lindholm the Lindholm trade. So they set a target on Lindholm, and they said that we're gonna, as soon as we hit our target, we're gonna make a move. And I think the same is true with Tanev because they don't want to, now that they've decided that this is the road they're going to go down with these players, they don't want to risk injury with these guys. They don't want to have them unduly playing in games if it's going to hurt their trade value. So I think on the Tanev front, and we know the style of hockey Tanev plays, I think with him the same is true. Once they hit their target, I think they're going to move and pull the trigger on that deal as well. So it would not surprise me in the slightest if we're talking about Tanev being moved here and playing somewhere else before the end of the All-Star break. I think right now, that's kind of one of the things that's being talked about behind closed doors is, can they get this done here in the next 24, 48 hours? So I've kind of, boys, I'm out here on the West Coast with you guys. I'm in Port Moody right now doing this, and I'm on high alert and waiting for something to come down because it wouldn't shock me at all if we're talking about something happening again here.
Pat, never worry about technical difficulties on our show. We have to deal with them on a regular basis. I'm sure you know what we're talking about. Thanks so much, my friend. Short notice, and we really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, boys. Enjoy the rest of the season.